we can say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Welcome to Brainstorm.
We have the explicit tag for a reason.
This is a base level argument to a higher level of morality.
I get paid to science?
To science as much as one can science.
What the hell was my point?
Trigger warning. The Brainstorm podcast will criticize your most cherished beliefs. We attack nonsense in all its forms and discuss difficult subjects. If you peddle pseudoscience, supernatural woo, or religious dogma, then this is not your safe place. This is the home of hardcore skepticism.
To those listening live or to our patrons, welcome back. For those listening weekly, welcome to Shift to Reason Radio, the Brainstorm production that tries to educate and inform. We'll take current events and important skeptical topics and try to analyze them critically. Remember that we're live on Spreaker.com every second Friday, and today is October 13th, 2017. I'm still joined by Leo.
Hello there.
Rene.
Hi there.
And Lisa.
Can I ask a question?
What's that?
When I said it's not good, it's just fucking long, was that the first thing that the listeners heard when we came back from the break?
You bet.
I'm not going to put that in context at all.
And of course, the always amazing Dave doing sound.
That's what she said. The long thing.
The long thing, not the amazing sound thing.
Well, maybe she said that too.
Okay. All right, so I want to start this bit off with a little bit of a content warning, not like our usual intro music content warning, but this we're going to talk about sexual harassment, and I don't want to have anybody experience anything negative based on that conversation. So, yeah, we're going to talk about sexual harassment for a little bit. There have been some issues surrounding sexual harassment coming to light recently. Harvey Weinstein is facing multiple accusations of harassment of various forms, a couple of which that sounded really close to assault to me, but I'm not a judge, so I guess I shouldn't say too much about that. But some people in the film industry have known about his actions for a long time and didn't say anything or denied it or actively tried to get others to stay quiet about it. And in light of this and recent platforming of a sexual harasser at a quote-unquote atheist conference and multiple reports of harassment of women by men in the skeptic community, I thought that this is something we should discuss. And I figured I'd present a couple scenarios to you guys. I'll maybe wait till Lisa comes back, and maybe we can bat these ideas around and see what we would do, or maybe what we think the best way to handle some of these things are. First of all, I guess what have you guys heard about? What do you think of this Harvey Weinstein stuff? And
Well, I mean, I don't know too much. I just know that it's coming to light. And the only problem is it sounds like it's just your stereotypical old school Hollywood thing of he had money, he had power, he thought, hey.
Right.
You know, that gave him access, you know. And like he's come out and saying as an excuse that, you know, he came of age during the, what was it, 60s, 70s, or 80s or whatever.
Right.
And that was the way it was done, which the scary thing is he's probably not wrong. Like, I mean, there is the whole idea of the casting couch. Like,
right. I
mean,
you know, I can speak from someone who works in this industry.
Yeah.
And you hear these stories all the time, and it's really terrible. Like people using their executive power to try to woo people sexually and things like that, right? So even locally here, like I've heard it, like, you know, so it's not this is not even just isolated to like major executives, right? So,
right.
In the film industry specifically, like it's very bad. So I think it's going to explode from here outward.
It sure seems like it.
It's not just going to be him. I don't think.
I have a couple like hypotheticals just to kind of, I guess, put us in a mindset where maybe we can think about this in certain ways. My first one, like I've got this. Okay, so a friend of yours tells you that somebody in a position of power, like a leader in your community or a teacher or their boss, sexually harassed them. They say something like, I was harassed by Bob. He touched me inappropriately, and when I said no, he persisted. But Bob denies these allegations. But you have been told by your friend that this happened. So what do you think? Do you believe your friend or do you believe Bob?
Well, with that vague kind of scenario, you go with your friend, because if it's your friend, unless you go, my friend's full of shit, they've been saying crap all the time,
right.
Unless they've got a previous pattern of being full of shit, then you're going to believe your friend. Like, I mean, if you don't know Bob from
from a hole in a wall, I just. So how should you, what's kind of the action that one should take? Like if they wanted to go public with that, what do you think is the appropriate?
Well, I mean, that's depends on the situation. Like, I mean, if within a workforce, then if it's a big enough company, then they would have there's probably a policy, there's probably an HR person, there's steps to be taken.
Right. Okay. So, say it's not a work situation. Say it's a group of friends. Say you're just hanging out you hang a group of 10 friends, and one of them says another one.
Actually, hang on a second. Let me go back to the work situation here. So this happened. It's in the astronomy community, and I'm part of that. Like, there's a big Facebook group of professional astronomers. There was a big sexual harassment thing that happened 2-3 years ago. A really famous astronomer named Jeff Marcy at Caltech, very well known, very eminent, very powerful astronomer with. Who actually was one of the first people to discover extrasolar planets, so planets outside of our solar system. Very, very well known, very good speaker, very charismatic guy, very, I don't know, well loved in the community, I guess. Came out that he had sexually harassed many women who lower than him on the totem pole, like grad students and postdocs,
kind of that he had power over.
It was one of these things that it was like when one person comes out, then it was around the Gian Gameshi time. It was all the similar sort of thing, right? Like the same thing happened with that guy, right? Like so some of this, I guess, with Gian, some things happened in his workplace and some things not. But with Jeff Marcy, all things were happening within the university workplace. Okay. And the university was very unresponsive about it. Even when it became very publicly known that this had happened, but certainly before, like, it was just like the man was untouchable. Okay. Wow. So personally, if I had a friend, it depends on the environment. Like I work in a hospital environment, it's unionized, it's government run. So in that case, if a friend of mine was sexually harassed, I would say, yeah, you need to go to HR and it'll be dealt with, and I would have faith in it. In a university environment, an academic environment, like a Caltech, I might give her or him the opposite advice, which is like, I don't know, you might want to try to deal with this on a personal level, like do some therapy, go to support groups. Like, I believe you, but I don't know that this is worth the bullshit and the frustration, and you're not going to get any results from this. I mean, I don't know. Like, I might actually give them that advice, because it's just like, why would you put yourself through this? Like, if it's not going to, I mean, if she was like, okay, no, I want to do this. Like, cool, I support you. But like, if they were asking advice, like, I don't know if I should, it might not be worth it for you. And it certainly could be very detrimental to your career in a very cutthroat industry, such as, for example, academia, or I'm sure the film industry. So anyways, just going back to the workplace thing, not sure like that, must report is always the best answer. And women who choose not to, I kind of respect that. Like it is what it is. Your industry.
But that reflects the brokenness of the culture and the way the system works. Like how it's not functioning the way it ought to function.
Yeah, but not every person wants to or can or should have to be that pioneer, like
No, that's
No, that's not what I'm
you know what I
saying.
mean? Like, yeah.
I'm saying the fact that you have to think about if you'll be believed or not, or if it's going to affect you negatively, the victim, that shows that.
Or even if it has any impact at all, right? Like, let's say you're not hurt by the process, and let's say your career's not hurt by the process, but it does nothing. Like the guy has got no repercussions against him, and it's like why have you even spun your wheels? Why have you even wasted your time? And I mean, it's like that in the court system too. Like even like people who've been raped, like it's like that. Like it's really. Yeah. I don't mean to tell people don't fight this. If you want to report things, go nuts. But don't. I feel like there's too much pressure on victims to be like. That you should report. Like, this is the right thing to do. This is what you need to do. And it's like, it may not be the best thing for you. And if whatever choice you make,
it's a fair concern. That's a fair concern. I part of my concern and the reason that I came up with kind of these ideas is that even when people come forward, we are placed in a situation where we're supposed to somehow parse out fact from fiction and separate second or third party information from firsthand information. And we're supposed to, well, in many cases, we are presented with a person who denies things flat out. And then you're part of a community that may support a person who is a predator in a sense, or has harassed multiple people, or maybe they have only been accused by one person and you just have, I don't know. What do you
I think a lot of these guys, they don't think of themselves as predators. They don't think they've done anything wrong.
Right.
They have such a sense of entitlement, right, to act as they do, and the sense of being like, I was saying in the break that when I was in grad school, I was warned very carefully. Like I was thinking about taking a certain professor on as my advisor, and everyone's like, "No, that person cannot supervise a woman, like a young woman. Like, do not go with this person. Like, it's not." So, like I said, women warn other women, and consequently, I didn't choose him. But as I got to know him over the years, just because we were in the same department, he thought he was God's gift to women. He thought, as he made creepy comments to every incoming potential grad student, that this was him being sexy and blah, blah, blah. And it's actually just super creepy and awful and like, fuck you, dude. Like he really just didn't get it. Like he was just, and I kind of get that impression from a lot of these guys, like just have such a sense of entitlement and being this God that they, I don't know, they don't think of themselves that way.
That's the thing. It's like, as I was thinking when I saw that's what we were going to talk about. Like, I mean, when it comes to this, there's such it's such a murky thing. Like, think about you come into some place, your workplace, whatever. Like, you come in and say to, let's just hypothetical office place. You come in, walk by, your secretary. Oh, you're looking pretty today. Oh, you think of it as an offhanded comment.
Like, that's not an okay comment to make in the workplace.
But that's what I mean. It could be taken 6 million ways, right? Like,
you could say, "Oh, I really like your shoes," or "That color really suits you," or something. But to say something like generic as "you look pretty" is very awkward. As a woman, I can tell you it's super awkward.
Exactly.
When people say that shit.
As soon as it can't cross my mind, I knew that it is. You don't. But
then again, as a human being, if you said that to me and I was a secretary, I would be like, and you weren't generally creepy all the time, wasn't a pattern of creepiness. I'd be like, well, that was just something Rene said. It was a bit awkward, whatever. You're forgiven. Like, I'm never going to make a big deal of it, right?
Yeah,
so
but I mean, that's what I mean.
Intention means a lot.
So situational. Like, I mean, the obvious example would be like, I mean, with the Harvey Weinstein, like some stories. Like, I mean, if I just come by and said that, and it's just a generic, "Oh, you're looking pretty today," or whatever, and you say that to everyone, it's not a big deal. Of course, if you're standing there with your dick out in the middle of the office, totally different scenario. But I
think it's about how safe I feel if you say that, and I'm like, this makes me feel really gross and icky, like you're stepping over a boundary that you don't realize is there, and because you have this weird sense of a right to act this way. That's where
the other. The flip side of that is I could be thinking it's totally innocent, no problem. But if you take it that way,
is,
I don't like, that's just it. It's such a murky.
But it has to be like a proportional thing. If I were to then report you to HR, I would hope HR would pull you aside and be like, lay that shit off, and that should be like, you shouldn't be fired for that, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
and that's what I mean. Is that sometimes
here.
I think, like, with seeing some of these comments about this stuff coming up, some of the reactions almost like it's so hard to judge the scenario. Like, it was that someone said something that was taken the wrong way? Did they do something? And then sometimes the reaction seems to be, oh, they were accused of it. Bam, they should be banned from fucking everything. And I don't know.
Even horses, they should be banned from fucking horses.
Especially.
Just asking. I was just wondering what.
Just to clarify, but
I'm left
there.
like, I wonder. Okay, so if a woman says, or a man says that somebody sexually harassed them, what is the appropriate response
from the person
from
who's being
a
accused?
community?
Oh,
surrounding them.
So my instinct is I just believe people. I don't tend to, and because the rate of false reporting is so low. I mean, especially if you have multiple women, Yeah,
I mean, we have like such big examples like Weinstein and Bill Cosby,
right?
And Gian Gomeshi, Canada. I fucking hate that guy. Anyways, continue.
The sad thing is, I enjoyed. I
loved his show,
and then that stuff came out, and I kind of felt, I came out and I felt guilty. But at any rate.
No, you shouldn't. It wasn't. It wasn't your fault, Rene.
Yeah. I don't know. Somehow, by actually liking him in Moxie Fruvis, I feel like I fed the ego. But anyway, but that's just it. Is like, I mean, all those cases are. I think that's where the problem is. Is it's that ego, that sense of entitlement that they feel like they deserve.
You know what I mean? It's a certain personality, a dude or woman who does this, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a certain.
And I don't think we hear as many stories of women doing that because there isn't as many women in that level of power. And I don't.
Yeah, you need that power differential for it to be.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go.
I remember reading a really powerful, was it a blog entry or an article, something? Anyways, like I said, I was really obsessed with the Gian Gomeshi thing. It just really hit me hard, I guess. I think because I really liked him as a radio broadcaster, and I feel like I should have known he was a creep the way he talked. I don't know. I don't know what it was. Yeah. Anyways, but I read an article, somebody said, a lot of people are saying, well, I'll reserve my judgment until he's convicted, or I'll let the courts decide. And she said, you don't have to do that, right? Yes, there's a legal standard in court, and he has to actually, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he meets that standards in order for him to be convicted legally and go to jail. Okay. But whether or not you believe somebody does not require that standard of proof. You are allowed to just go ahead and believe what your gut tells you or what you feel is right. You can go ahead and do that, and that's okay. You don't have, it's different from me saying to Gian Gomeshi, I fucking believe that you did that shit that they said you did, and that's fucking wrong. And there's a difference between that and him being convicted in court of doing that and getting a legal consequence. Right. So I'm allowed to believe his victims. Even I don't have to wait for proof. And when you say, "Oh, we're just going to wait for proof," what you're saying is I don't believe you. Or or the other. If he is innocent until proven guilty, well, then they're liars until proven truthful, right? And that's not. That's not necessarily.
Seems like the wrong way to go.
Well, it does seem like the wrong way to go, given the small numbers of false accusations.
I think that's a very good point. We need to separate the legal procedure from truth, because a lot of innocent people sit in jail, and a lot of guilty people get off. Yep. So the legal procedure tries to catch the guilty people, but it's not a determinant of guilt. So I think it's good to...
It's not perfect, for sure.
We have to separate this. This may have happened, and he may not get convicted for it. That doesn't change the fact that it happened. So I think it's good to separate the two and not try to claim that the legal system gets everything right, because...
True. Although to kind of play devil's advocate a little bit, like not defending any of these assholes. But unfortunately, we do live in a day and age of trial by social media. And sometimes just being accused of it is enough to ruin you forever. Like just the accusation.
Absolutely. There's a balance there.
And I'm not saying like, like you said, there's number of false accusations are minuscule. Like it does happen, but statistically it's negligible.
So when I found out that about Jian Ghomeshi, I didn't send him mean, threatening emails and say that I was gonna, gouge the eyes out of his mother or something like that. You know what I did? I went to his victim, one of his prominent victims, who had been that actress on Trailer Park Boys. I can't remember her name now. Anyway, so she was one of the only people who actually was public about her name and everything. And I went to her page, her Facebook page. I said, you're very courageous and I support what you do. So, it doesn't have to be like, everyone doesn't have to jump and be all negative on it. How about being supportive about it? You don't have to be like, oh, I'm going to throw egg at the bad guy. Instead, how about we just say, how about I support whatever it is you choose you want to do with what you revealed. Do you want
I was just playing a little bit of devil's advocate because
you're right. People do. Yeah.
There is this trial by social media. Like just the accusation alone is enough sometimes to just.
Well,
that's scary.
Yeah. And that goes beyond just sexual harassment. That goes for a lot of things, right? Like the trial by social media thing. But there's also that old cliche of when there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, there's enough accusations out there with Harvey Weinstein. Like, it was almost a running joke, apparently, in the entertainment industry that he does this kind of shit. So, the guy's guilty as fuck. Like,
yeah, it certainly seems like that most of these accusations, they don't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder sometimes if there's room for people interpreting situations differently.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, I don't want to fucking give anybody a pass for if somebody has said, stop talking to me in this way or stop. Like, and again, even saying that, I feel like if you didn't express that, I don't think that you're as a victim that you're necessarily at fault of, not stopping your own harassment.
Well, you think about it too. Like if somebody, most decent people, I'm generalizing maybe, but when you tell a decent person that you're not comfortable with something, they stop doing it.
Yeah.
So
you would think,
like it probably won't lead to accusations because at that point you've changed your behavior, going, oh, sorry, like you're making that comment about being pretty kind of thing. Like if somebody told me that was uncomfortable for them, it'd be okay. I won't say that to you. Like done, Yeah,
so, you're not going to push back on that, right?
So, some people will, for sure. That's it. Like when you're a woman navigating the society, I'll tell you, if you say something like that, you're going to get a lot of, oh God, you're way too sensitive. Don't start this shit with me now. What I mean. Like, am I going to hear a call from HR now because of you? And then you worry, okay, well, shit, this person, I have to work with them on the next project. They're going to evaluate me. And now my career's going to, so you have to be, navigating this shit is not easy.
This is why I mean decent people, because a decent person wouldn't deflect that back. So.
Here's what I would do. If somebody said something to me like that I found uncomfortable, I would definitely start with like trying to do it without actually saying, trying to express with my body language that I was uncomfortable without saying it, because that way they can't come back. So hopefully if they're a normal human being and I just go, and I just, or like I'm not even that strong, but I just like, whatever, and then just walk on and not,
right.
Like I just try not to react, because I mean, I'll be honest, there's a doctor at work who's just, he's so sexist. He drives me crazy. And I had bought like a pizza at the food court and I was bringing it back to my desk. This is like a year ago. Like this is not long ago. And he goes, oh, pizza for lunch. Hey, I didn't know girls eat that kind of like eat junk food like that. And they thought they all worry about getting fat. And I'm just like,
yeah.
You know what I said? And moved on. Like I was just like, whatever, because he's a doctor. I have to work with him, and there's no point in me going and making a big fuss about it, even though it's a rude, sexist, awful thing to say. I just whatever. Like,
so I guess the point I'm trying to make is that when you get to the point of being accused, very clearly there's probably something happening to make that happen. I can't imagine that I've never said something that makes somebody uncomfortable, right? but it's never led to more than that because I'm not.
You have good intentions.
Well, that's just it, right? So, I mean, like, I think that says a lot already about the person being accused.
Maybe not intentions. You have good, like, you don't feel entitled to special treatment or to press boundaries in that way.
Like letting it get to that point is like, it makes it pretty obvious that the person being accused clearly has, like you say, the smoke is there. Like it's. So I guess what I'm saying is maybe that alone right there says to me that when somebody comes out and makes that accusation that, I'd say 99.9% of the time that person is doing that because of some of the experiences they've had with that person that have been negative, even if they're not, like a huge pattern of it, right? Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but
I think that makes sense. I want to take this a little bit further out and just say, like, okay, so what if you're hearing it from somebody who was told about it? What if you didn't hear about this firsthand and you're just hearing it almost as a rumor, but just like secondhand information?
It gets murkier when you're starting to get into that. Like, I know all I could think of is, and I'm going to try to retell the story without any names. So, I mean, protect the innocent or whatever. There's
this guy named Dory.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was talking to this guy named Babe.
Yeah.
They're both from Babe.
At any rate, when I was at the university, there was one prof who the rumor was notorious. He liked to sleep with his TAs. And one of the other guys I worked with was saying, "Oh, I'm going to go." I was going to apply as a TA, and I'm like, "Really? You know what happens to his TAs?" He's just like, and it was just, and I know it's a bad joke, but like, I mean, it was like it was just a rumor. There was no evidence, but it was like
There's
an open
example
secret.
Of an open secret.
It was an open secret, like, I mean, it. No, would that stand up and anything? No, it was a bad joke, bad taste. I'm good at those, but But that's just it. But it's just rumor and secondhand. You can't go much beyond that. Like, I mean, if it's hearsay, it's hearsay. Like,
but yeah, okay, yeah, I can.
The thing is, I don't want to pass off the responsibility of being that person who tries to act on some inappropriate behavior, but that person probably has friends who they told that to, who are probably already advising that person as to what to do. That's probably not the case in all situations, but it very very much depends on the situation, because if it's a close friend, then I would feel kind of responsible to give some sort of advice. But if it's hearsay of that person, like I've seen them around somewhere, but then they might have friends who they've confided in who are already advising them on how to handle it.
I'm not a big fan of rumors. I'm not a big fan of spreading that. Like, I'd rather just let the victim or the person decide for themselves what it is they want to do and support them with whatever that is. The only exception I might make in that case is if I knew of another person with a similar, like, for example, if I knew that this prof likes to sleep with, or likes to whatever, maybe he's not sleeping with them, maybe he's harassing them, maybe this is not wanted. Yeah. Generally, it's not wanted. I don't know of a lot of profs who are getting a lot of ass and like that's like all the female TAs are like, yeah, we love this. Like, that's rare. Like, I've never heard of that. So anyways, so if I knew that was the case,
as a general rule, there's not a lot of Adonis type profs running around.
They think they are. Let me tell you something. Anyways, like, consensual things are different, but I'm talking about this weird icky sort of grossness that you get way more commonly. If there was like a young grad student just started and, she's pretty sheltered and, or even if she's not, I would probably be like, hey, you probably don't want this dude to be your boss. Go work with this person. I would highly recommend. I might not even say why, or maybe I would. It depends on, I would have to use my judgment, but to protect other people, and women definitely do this. We totally do this with each other. You guys have no idea. These conversations happen just between when you.
Well, I mean, like,
we don't involve you because we don't. Partly because we don't know if we can trust you. I get, like, we don't know if you can be if you're one of the safe guys, right. And also because it's not your problem. It's not something you can do anything about. So we're just helping each other. Like, when I'm not worried about you with that prof, I'm only worried about her. Or whatever.
Right.
It's not like I'm going to be able to walk up and Harvey Weinstein, I heard what you did to Kate Beckinsale. No, it's not going to work.
But what do you do in that situation? Do you just never talk to Harvey? Do you just go, I'm not going to work with him?
If you can.
Yeah.
It depends on your level of power, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only in the case of Harvey Weinstein, that's really hard because
That's a really hard one.
Because that man, if there was a top of the pyramid, that man was top of the pyramid.
Right.
Yeah, you might not be in a place to have any real, like Lisa said earlier, impact on anything. And all you end up doing is destroying your livelihood.
So you guys have such a different take on this as men, right? Because you guys are just I don't know if I want to work with this guy. He's icky. I don't want to support this. And as a woman, I'd be like, I just make sure I was never alone in a room with him. I'd make sure that there was always someone else around. So I'm worried about my personal safety. I'm not, you guys are on a higher level. I don't know if I could ever endorse this man and shake his hand. And I'm just I just want to know that I'm safe and that I'm not going to be near him and my sister's not going to be near him and nobody I know is going to be in a place where they can be victimized by him. That's my first thought. Right. So, I don't even give it. I would smile to his face as long as I don't have to be alone in a room with him.
If Harvey Weinstein was an equal opportunity groper, then it might be having different discussions.
They never are.
How do we help with that situation? How do we help make sure that people are safe when there are people like this in the higher
if you were his boss,
power?
I would say, yeah, you better come down hard in that shit. If you're his underling, I think you can just kind of do the subtle things that women do for each other, which is help protect each other. Suggest
heads up.
Yeah, don't let her be alone with
so-and-so.
Yeah,
but the reality is with Harvey though, is that you don't really have that option necessarily. If you're going to be involved with him, he's going to find a way to get you alone if he wants to do that, right? So I think it goes a little further in this case because it's there was one story I read about him where all the he held a meeting with somebody and then all the people in the meeting slowly left the room and they had to be complicit with him, right? For him to have that alone time with that person. So those people who were complicit with that, I think, were equally as guilty if they had that understanding.
That's sick. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, but I'm not saying I don't understand why they did that because, again, like I'm saying, I mean, in that industry specifically, your career can get ruined in 5 seconds.
Bill Cosby's people did the same thing for him, helping him find dates and keep getting them in there. They knew it was.
So I guess Cory's question is very valid because it's as much as you can warn people and say don't do this, don't do that. I mean, these people have so much power that they will find a way to make that happen for themselves. You know what I mean?
Quit your job before you help a guy rape a woman.
Well, and that's
please.
just it. Right?
I don't know. I guess that seems obvious.
Well, that's what
it does, doesn't it?
And that's what needs to happen. I think people if you have the group, a group of people, rebelling against somebody is different than an individual rebelling against them, right? So, if as a group we can be more moral, I guess maybe that helps, right?
I mean, but mind you, it's easy for us all to say in this hypothetical.
Sure.
Look at Donald Trump, all the shit he did before he got elected. Look at all the shit he's doing now.
Donald Trump is exactly the same as
he's the same thing.
Yeah. And how many people are now complicit with his stupidity at the utmost top level of government?
Fewer and fewer people are put. Honestly, he's hemorrhaging people for his administration. He can't appoint people, and it's catching up to him. It's not. It's not nothing.
That's very true. That's very. But
yeah,
true.
there are lots of people who are still sucking his dick, and you posted that, didn't you, Mike Pence?
Yeah.
Taking
a knee. Yeah.
The tiny little hands.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Oh shit!
But that seems to be the common thing here. It's whether it's Weinstein, Bill Cosby, Donald Trump, because there's a lot of accusations out there with him. Even though personally, I think that thing that they recorded him on was just him, just trying to be what he always does, which is just brag all the time.
Yeah, I kind of think he's a fucking
full of shit
child.
Who?
Donald Trump.
Like
really?
the pussy grabber.
I kind of think he doesn't have the I don't know.
No, I think women have said that he's
there's
cornered them in elevators and started kissing them.
Yeah, there's other
accusations. He used to break into or walk right into the dressing room of underage beauty contestants.
I remember that.
Naked. No, he did shit.
I'm not saying he's innocent at all, but but that's just it. That's that's the common thing. It's a thing of power and feeling of entitlement.
He was up on like a charge of raping like a 14-year-old or something.
He was
it was a
charged,
lawsuit.
yeah.
I mean,
was he charged, or that was
no, it was a
just
lawsuit, I believe.
Oh,
no, it was an
okay.
actual lawsuit
Okay.
brought against him. It wasn't criminal. It was, anyways.
Did they settle?
I don't recall knowing what the results of that were, but
Yeah,
like
that's
again,
true.
smoke fire. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's
talk about a power differential. Talk about.
I mean, and that's the thing is that you get to that power level and that feeling of entitlement, and and I think there's a problem.
Thinks he's a fucking special snowflake.
Yeah, and I think the problem is they probably not that they just got away with it, but they had a certain level, shall we say, success to a certain point, and then there's a point where it's like, dude, you're now 55. What the fuck are you doing with the 20-year-old wannabe actress? Like, like.
But if that's consensual, I have no problem with it.
Yeah,
right? It's not that.
But you know what I mean?
Thinking
Is
that
like
20-year-old wants your attention and not taking no for an answer, not even just reading into her body language that says you're creeping me out.
And like that's what I'm meaning is that he had some success, and then he thinks it's always worked. So, they keep doing it. But like, it's just, I don't know. You're an asshole. You're an asshole.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It seems like they're not always easy, like, situations to navigate if there isn't. Multiple cases make things easier for the bystander to understand and make a judgment call. But that doesn't necessarily negate the word of people if there's not a dozen supporting, corroborating victims, right? I don't know. And
in less extreme cases, there is that difference of perspective, right? Rene just thinks he's giving someone a compliment. She finds it creepy. Like, it's totally like
story of my life.
I'm really picking on you today. I was murdering you earlier, and but like I'm just saying, like you could videotape it, but you could videotape it, and objectively the same thing has happened, right? Like everyone agrees on the objectives of what happened, but whether it made somebody feel
right,
you know what I mean? Like, because harassment is defined as something that makes the victim feel bad.
Right.
Well, so
then that's where the line is, right? Like, if that's how we define, if harassment is defined as the victim feels harassed,
that's typically the definition given. So it's really hard.
It doesn't matter really what the accused or the perpetrator says, right? If you made somebody feel harassed, then you harassed them.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking of that other post about if they've been accused of what was that one atheist group posting or whatever.
Oh yeah,
if they've been accused, then you should have no dealings with them. And I'm like, well, that's because under that definition, just being accused, then suddenly you're done. Like even if you said something, even if you just said something.
See, I don't think harassment is a criminal charge. That's just like an HR thing, right? That's just grounds for dismissal.
That's a social thing.
But it's not like a thing. You can't be like arrested for harassment. It's like you have to be arrested for assaulting someone or threatening to assault someone.
And I think this is where it gets gray, is like saying something inappropriate should be, fuck, you're a dick, and end of story. But, the story of Harvey Weinstein whipping his dick out and masturbating in a potted plant, that's a little different, like
he did what?
Yeah.
Apparently he was. I can't remember what
alone.
Well, he was trying to kiss a female actress or something.
Yeah,
and then she refused,
and then he
with her still there.
Yeah. He jerked off and into the potted plant. Supposedly,
That's disgusting.
That's just not right. That's just fucked up.
I mean, that's threatening, though. Like, right?
That's where
really
I'm saying
scary.
is like the problem. Where the issue is sometimes is that word sexual harassment is kind of covers both scenarios. If you say something inappropriate and whipping your dick out is still both sexual harassment, then it gets a little bit. It gets murky.
So kind of what I'm getting from our conversation here is that if somebody accuses another person of sexual harassment, then that person has been made to feel harassed. Yeah. And the best way that we can deal with that is to try and make them feel safe and help others know that this person may or may not be a risk to be with in a scenario.
Yeah, I think that's good. Like, I think feeling harassed is fundamentally, feeling unsafe at some level, or feeling
right.
Yeah,
eh?
it's a scale, obviously, but it's like, this person is icky, this person is not safe.
They've been they've felt unsafe in some way.
Yeah,
right?
It's true.
And I mean, and as like anything else, it's situational. But I mean, it all depends on the scenario to a certain extent, I guess.
But I think another thing maybe you guys should consider is that, like, if Angela was here or whatever, if there's another woman here, they just back me up. Oh yeah, like, I got harassed last week at work.
This is just a thing that happens.
It's a thing that happens, and it's a total spectrum, right? Like, yeah. I mean, and you really have to. You can't. I mean, you can just go to HR with every single one, I guess. But like, we don't typically. We just try not to be alone in the room with them, or try to. I mean, it depends, or just try to avoid having to work with them if you can, or try to, not respond, or do whatever it is you think you need to do to make it stop. But like, I mean, just people say and do weird things all the time, constantly. It's a way. It's just like, you guys can walk down the street and just be like, well, it sucks that it's cold, and I'm like, sucks that it's cold, and I hope nobody jumps out of an alley and rapes me, right? Like, it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm always thinking about that. That's a reality. You hope the same thing, but you don't think it actively.
I
so
hate
much as
the world.
We do.
I really hate
this is
the
just
world.
my reality, right? Like, I just have to. Not that I have to think about it, but I just do. It's just the world I live in, right?
Yeah. No,
It's a different experience being a woman, because the sense of. I think it's just like a cultural thing, like, or a social thing, like. It's perceived as weaker, so we're kind of picked on.
It's comparable to like being a brown person. Like, there's parallels, right? Like a white person might not experience some of the stuff I do, right? So
totally.
So I get that totally. Yeah.
This is
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I don't know. It's just different for us, and it might seem hard to understand, but it's just people say weird, awkward things to you, and you're just like, I don't know what to. I'm just a physicist.
It's hard to entirely understand, but it isn't hard to recognize, and it shouldn't be hard to acknowledge that that's not okay for that to be the way the world is.
Some of us, like I myself, I live in a bit of a bubble,
right?
So I sometimes forget how like general men are, but like most of the men I hang out with aren't like that really. So it's like. Yeah, so you kind of sometimes lose track too.
I've worked in bars and restaurants for like very long time, so
exactly. Yeah, that's a different world.
Oh yeah, you're gonna see lots of shit there.
Yeah, mind you, I see weird things with the female side of the stuff too. Like,
men aren't the only ones with a sense of entitlement. That's for damn sure. Like, anybody can have one. You just have to be a human.
I mean, I've seen it on both sides, where I've seen, you see the, servers using their sexuality to try to get little favors. I mean, that's, sounds way more grandiose than it actually is. But, and that's just, like, can you do this, for me? And, fluff up the boobs and, like, I mean, it's reality. But, like, I mean...
All right.
I live in my own little world.
Let's do a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back to
lighter, happier topics.
I don't know.
Have we talked enough to not have me do this yet?
Maybe.
Maybe, just about.
Yes!
All right. Let's do a commercial break.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/brainstorm podcast gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
We are given one life, full of billions of small and large decisions. To be somebody, to change, to be kind, to give hope, to become a better person, and to leave a lasting impact on this planet. It is a decision to be made every single day while your heart is still beating. We've made our decision. Absence of clothing, atheist and science-based apparel and merchandise, donating 50% of our profits to charity. Look good and feel good, without God. Check us out at absenceofclothing.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest for discount codes and other sweet swag.
Use the code BRAINSTORM at absenceofclothing.com and get 10% off. The Hardcore Skeptic Examines is a bi-monthly documentary-style podcast that includes interviews, research, and commentary from your host, Cory Johnston. That's me. As the host of the Brainstorm podcast, I've spent the last 3+ years trying to spread critical thinking and skepticism while having fun. This project is intended to look at some of those same topics covered by Brainstorm, but a bit deeper. With the long intervals between episodes and the long format, I'm hoping to provide good information that educates as well as entertains. Check out my Patreon for more details at www.patreon.com/hardcoreskeptic or follow my Twitter at hardcoreskeptic.
Hi, this is Dan, Brian, and Matt with the Godless Revolution podcast. We've had a lot of great guests on this show, such as Russell Glasser, Dan Arrow, Brian Fields, David Silverman, Doug Mesner, a.k.a. Lucian Greaves, and Joey Kirkman, whom we love a lot.
We've also had a lot of really cool local guests. And we're a podcast that likes to fight for the separation of church and state and against anti-skepticism of all kinds.
You should give us a listen, because if you don't, you're going to be really sad.
Make your ears happy. Listen to the Godless Revolution podcast.
All right, and we're back. So let's jump to our politics segment.
I'm not a scientist, but if I can tell...
Everybody complains about politicians. Everybody says they suck.
Yeah!
Well, where do people think these politicians come from? They don't fall out of the sky. They don't pass through a membrane from another reality. They come from American parents and American families, American homes, American schools, American churches, American businesses, and American universities, and they're elected by American citizens. This is the best we can do, folks. This is what we have to offer. It's what our system produces. Garbage in, garbage out.
I love Carlin. Fucking love George Carlin.
Well, speaking of garbage, let's get to the news.
Yeah.
I stole that line from Seth Meyers. Sorry.
Nice.
Well, just to get to the news part. But yeah, so there's a new study came out about like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I don't know. But yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I should say. But it's from a guy from Columbia University. And it's on gun control. So the team headed by Julian Santanella, I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Okay.
But so the team that they looked at 130 different studies relating to gun control and gun control laws from across several countries, including U.S., Australia, Brazil, South Africa, Austria, and some others. So they took these studies and tried to find some answers as to what kind of gun control works and what should be done in other countries that have high homicide by gun. So they came up with 3 different kind of conclusions, I guess, air quotes, or 3 different suggestions of what should be the next steps forward. The first one was that gun legislation needs to be a bigger package of laws, not just like little laws here and there. The bigger ones are way more successful than just individual little ones. The second one is that restricting gun purchases in some form or another does reduce overall gun violence in general. And then the third one, which I found interesting, is that we need better studies on gun control. That was their third finding, which...
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I was a little surprised to see the third one, but
really?
I think it... I mean, they
You need
looked
to
at
read more scientific papers. Every single one concludes with, we need more research on this topic. Literally every single scientific paper. They want more funding for everything.
I think maybe I haven't written very many of those. But but yeah, so those are the 3 suggestions. So basically it was, gun control works. And so I'm going to go into some of the specifics of what they found in these 130 studies from the 10 different countries that they looked at. One of the most convincing one was from South Africa. They passed a firearm control act in the year 2000, and it was a pretty wide sweeping one. And they saw a 13.6% reduction in firearm related crimes for the next 5 years in a row, 13% each year.
Really?
Yeah. So that one does seem to indicate that maybe it had some.
There's a cumulative effect.
Yeah, there was some kind of effect. Yeah. So that was one of the more convincing one, or the biggest effect that it had in any of the studies that they found. But there were other ones, like in Austria, they had a 14% reduction, I think, over the next year. And then on the flip side were the Americans. Fuck the Americans. So Missouri in 2007 got rid of the law that you had to have a permit, as we have here in Canada, that you have to have a permit before you can buy a gun.
Right.
Or like a license. And they got rid of that so that you didn't need a permit anymore. And then they saw an increase of 25% gun-related homicides.
Wow.
So as opposed to reduction, good guys with the guns, I guess, didn't buy any, it seems.
Or maybe they did, but an absolute number of bad guys with guns also bought them. I don't know.
I'm not sure how that works.
Possibly.
But
yeah, that
the good
works.
guys didn't stop them.
I heard somewhere where the problem is when within the States, I can't remember where I heard this, but with all the Vegas shit going on, there's a bunch of different stuff. The problem is that gun control isn't sweeping, because sure, you have control here, you have control there, but then you just go down the block and get whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
Because it's not sweeping enough.
Well, and that's one of the things that the study, like they found in the studies, that you need kind of a massive move. Not so the one thing they suggest after Vegas now, like, oh, let's get rid of the bump stock. That'll solve everything. Like no. Like you can't just limit, like, oh, let's have smaller cartridges or magazines or stuff like that. It's like, well, you're kind of missing the point. Like we need some sophisticated gun laws.
Problem is they had some of that. I looked it up. There was the federal assault weapon ban, ran from 93 to 04, where they limited the use of semi-automatic weapons and large capacity magazines, but they let it lapse. Why? The argument is because, well, they had the ban, but it didn't really curb violence enough. So it didn't mean anything.
But maybe the argument from Leo's article is that that's not sweeping enough.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Well, I mean, assault rifles is just. I mean, it's a good policy to have. Like, assault rifles should automatically not be in the market as it is.
Well, that's just it. The thing I looked up, they said that part of the ban, and I can't believe they had to fucking ban this, was they included a grenade launcher. And
otherwise I'd just go out and buy one right away.
Yeah, fuck. And those kids are down the street playing fucking ZZ Top.
And
that's actually fair.
Yeah. But anyway, and the other thing was I can't remember how they phrased it. Like, I read it before I came here. Anyway, basically, the flash muzzler, so that they didn't allow you to have not necessarily a silencer, but something similar,
like a quieting.
Yeah, it was the
effect.
It's so you can't see the big flash of the rifle of the gunshot. And I'm like, why are you making it easier for people to shoot people, and so you don't know what's going on?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
So much of this makes no fucking sense to me.
So
I'm just going to finish with the statistics.
You finish.
So there's a couple more statistics that there is a just bare statistics of shootings per state and gun ownership per state. There is, if you know what a graph looks like and how you plot it on a graph, when you have a line that lines up from the bottom left corner to the top right corner, and all the dots follow that line, that is a
correlation.
Yes.
There you go.
And so it is almost perfect when it's plotted on a graph that if you have fewer guns in your state, then you have fewer gun-related crimes.
That does make sense.
So
fewer guns like per capita?
No.
Well,
it's guns, percentage of households.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So not per capita, but per household, I guess.
Yeah, you've normalized it somehow to the population.
Yeah,
fine.
to the population.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so it is consistent with fewer guns will most likely result or might result in lower crime. And also the U.S. is the all-time winner of gun-related crimes. And that is all I have to say about that.
I read an interesting article in the Washington Post this week. A statistician, like a self-described liberal statistician who in the past had pushed for kind of the traditional Democrat gun reform policies. And she and her colleagues spent time looking to see which of the policies that they're advocating for, if enacted, would reduce gun crime. And they actually found that none of them would. So, for example, they were pushing for things like not making silencers as easy to acquire, et cetera, et cetera. And it kind of really I guess the bumps and all that shit. But it kind of goes along with what you're saying, which is that's not enough. Like small little wins here and there, and it's almost like the NRA is trying to make everyone spin their wheels. Like, and you get like little tiny, like wins here and there, which are actually effectively meaningless. Yeah, I think the U.S. just has too many fucking guns for like little, small, tiny things like that to really do any good. And what she focused on in her article was saying she looked at, if you actually look at the subset of who is actually affected by gun crime, so most of it is like the vast majority, or not, whatever, I can't remember what it is. I'm going to put a number out there, like 60%-ish is young men who are victims of gun crime. So they primarily gang violence, oftentimes like black men down there. Those are statistically the biggest victims of gun crimes. And then after that, it's women who are victims of domestic violence and are shot by their intimate partner. So, and then I think after that, I can't remember what it is, but those are the two biggest groups of people. So what she recommended in this article was focusing on helping those groups of people specifically rather than trying to make general. Anyway, that was what she advocated for in there. So,
yeah. I don't have the stats with me right now, but there is a pretty clear black people kill black people, white people kill white people. Like it's very much like that. It's much more than you would think that, and they are not that different in terms of the numbers.
Well, people tend to kill, I assume, people they know.
Yeah,
and for a reason.
And in their reason areas.
And if you happen to know mostly white people, or you happen to know mostly black people, I mean, it would make sense.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. That white people, the people they should fear the most is other white people. Like that's when it comes to being murdered, and that's just like.
Right, and women shouldn't fear like a random rapist coming out of the bushes to get them. They should fear their intimate partner.
Yeah,
statistically speaking.
Yeah. Family members and their partners and close friends.
Mm-hmm. That kind of reminds me, so it's just a tangent here, but I remember being in grad school and like sometimes you'd have like this really smart professor, old guy, and then he'd kind of be seeming to sleep during your talk, but then he'd kind of wake up at the end and ask like a devastating question that totally like threw all your shit to the wind. So like I remember somebody, like a grad student giving a talk and, had all these graphs and blah, blah, blah. And, this guy looks like he's asleep, right? And then he kind of like wakes up at the end. Yeah, and he goes, I have a question. He goes, did you just prove that big things are big and small things are small? And the student like giant eyes, like, oh fuck, that is what I just proved. Like, big galaxies are big and small galaxies are small. Fuck. Like, so I just feel like that's kind of like the obvious thing of what you just said. Like, you tend to kill the people you know if you. Anyways. Did you just say that big things are big and small things are small?
Essentially.
Essentially. And I have one last little rant that on gun control and the whole thing.
Okay.
The Second Amendment is absolute bullshit. Like, there is it means absolutely nothing. If there's any American listeners out there, yes. We already ban most of the arms that you are allowed to bear. And banning a few more or a few less does not change the fact that it's fucking bullshit. And that is about it.
Well, do Americans not treat their Constitution like the Bible? Like, it's like this immutable thing that cannot be wrong. The founding fathers wrote it, and they can't ever have been wrong.
Been infallible.
But that's as many comedians have pointed out. I think best Jim Jeffries is that. They say you can't change it. Other than that's what the word amendment means.
And there's very specific rules for how to change it. But anyway.
That is one of the things that bothers me whenever you have a gun advocate. The Second Amendment, like it does not mean jack shit.
And maybe the Second Amendment's a bad idea.
Well, you can have any amendment you want, but make it consistent with reality and what you actually. Unless we want to give everybody the right to have a bazooka and a fighter jet.
There is already limits. You can't have, as someone I can't remember who was saying, you can't have a tow missile. You can't have, there are limits, but yet they take this as and they say it like, what is it? The Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. I can't remember the exact one, but basically
form militias and bear arms like. To protect yourself, like from a tyrannical government. That's
right.
That's the gist of it.
Was it tyrannical? Was that phrased in there? Because I always thought the whole point is that they could have the weapons and form militias because they didn't have a standing army. It was 1792.
I'm pretty sure the tyrannical government.
It was for overthrowing the government if the government overstepped their bounds. It was all about putting limits on government in their constitution. Right? That's where the checks and balances and the three branches and all that jazz.
Yeah, which no longer means shit. You're bringing a gun to a drone strike. To a drone fight, sorry.
Right, because if you were to show up and try to fight the American military, your overlords that you were trying to overthrow, I don't care how many rifles you have, you are going to lose.
Yeah, you're done.
Bubba with your AR-15 is not going to take out, the whatever division that's going to...
By golly, he's going to try.
It's going to try.
Yeah.
He has the right to try.
All right. I think we're pretty much done for the night. We don't have any time left for any other stories.
Yes!
So I'm going to go right to our listener feedback. We got a comment on I've been rebroadcasting the Hardcore Skeptic series on the regular show feed, and we got a comment on there that says I applaud from Grim Crayon that says, wow, I applaud your lack of interruption or immediate counter argument. I kind of felt bad about the way I did those episodes, but apparently that this person thought that I did it well. So I appreciate that. And on Twitter, Randy Lamonda appreciated the mention from Deb that she started off listening to the Angry Atheist podcast. And he said he also introduced me to atheism. So that was our listener feedback this week. On Patreon.
I hate that.
I know. Yeah. On Patreon, we have no new patrons. In September, there were 6 patron-only posts, and there will be another 4 to 6 this month. So, and with the new format, the Brainstorm After Show is available to our patrons the same day or the day after the full-length ad-free episode is available.
What?
So, patrons also get episodes of the Hardcore Skeptic Examines a day early, and they get extra episodes of the Skeptic Voices early. And extra episodes early. So there are tons of benefits to being a patron. So they aren't all consistent, because we also are planning on slowly but surely everybody's going to do little segments that they record every now and then, right?
We're totally going to do that, just like we read everything you make us talk about.
Yeah, that's right.
Beforehand.
So thanks a ton to our top patrons, Lisa Gumby and Rob Geiger.
Woohoo!
Thanks for being such great supporters of the show. We didn't get any feedback on the Patreon Hangout or the Patron Hangout idea, but still an idea I've putting out there in case somebody wants to do a Patron Hangout. So,
by the way, I'm still a patron because I just forgot my password. I don't know how to turn it on. I'm kidding.
Good. Leave it. I'm happy with it.
Jokes, just jokes.
If you want to be a patron, you can join us. You can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. There were no new iTunes reviews, which means that Chris at the Podunk Polymath still has 12 more reviews than we do. So we need our listeners to come on and fucking get us some more reviews. We got a 5-star review on Facebook, and Tim Martin gave us 5 stars and said, "Fantastic podcast from a bunch of people with funny accents from America's Fur Hat." So
I read that. That was nice.
Thank you, Tim, for that. We're up to 924 likes on our Facebook page, and if we get to 1,000, then I will start giving away some of the merch that I still have at home.
Oh, I thought you were going to shave something or something on Facebook Live. Or no? Shave your head? No? Eyebrows?
That's not a bad idea, but I'll think about that.
Maybe for our 10,000th like.
Maybe, yeah. All right, plug your stuff. Let's start with Dave. What do you got?
Dave's not here. No, I just wanted to say, I just thought it'd be cool to announce here, if you have any listeners in the Los Angeles area, I just found out today that 2 films that I worked on are playing at a festival there in November called Skin. What is it called? It's a First Nations film festival. End of November. So yeah, it's going to be at the Chinese theater there, like the historical theater.
Okay,
cool.
That's right on the. Just bring up things. LA Skins Fest. There you go. Native American Arts Organization festival. And yeah, it's at the. I wish I could remember the name of the theater now. It's a really well-known theater. Like the Walk of Fame is right there.
Grauman's?
No, I got it here. TCL Chinese Theaters. That's one. So it's if you see the picture, you'd probably recognize it. Like you see
I think I got it in my head, but I can't think of the proper name.
So a couple things I did are playing down there in Hollywood.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm hoping to go. So if we have any listeners who are in LA and want to come hang out with me at the festival there,
nice.
Please do hook up with me because I'll be around, and I'd love to get together with a local and see what the place is about. This is the weekend of Friday, November 17th. That's the festival. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yay.
So
good
pretty
for
cool.
you, Dave.
Very cool.
And very good films, like their First Nations issues and stuff. So
nice.
I'm quite proud of those ones.
Cool. Okay. I also have a new episode of the Hardcore Skeptic Examines is out. I did an interview with Dr. Christy Winters on feminism and social justice. And we have started doing a GoFundMe for our next conference. So we, Angela and the planning team have been working pretty hard on getting a venue and getting together a speakers list. And we got a GoFundMe with a goal of $5,000, and that will cover everything we're hoping for the conference. And anybody who donates, the money that they donate will go towards the purchase of their ticket price. We will keep track of all that, and we will definitely apply the amount you donate to your purchase of a ticket. And we're committed to doing a positive skeptical conference. with a diversity of speakers, a few controversial topics, and a harassment-free environment. This is our main goal.
Are you going to talk about free will?
I don't know. It depends. Maybe.
Totally should.
So you can support the Shift to Reason conference at gofundme.com/Shift to Reason Conference 2018 with dashes in between each of the words. Let's hit that outro music. You can check out the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com and our website, brainstormblog.net. Thanks to our financial supporters, Aaron, Daryl, Destin Sucks, Alden, Lachlan, Lisa, Magnus, Michael, Nathan, Positively Skeptical, which is Gumby, and Rob, Stephanie, and Will. If you want to join their ranks and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. You can join us live every second week when we broadcast live on Spreaker. You can find us at spreaker.com/user/brainstormpodcast. Our next guest is not listed here, but I'll post it on our Facebook page. Thanks to Jonathan for joining us. You can find out more about his podcast at soundcloud.com/tdtfpod. I will put a link in the show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com, and the notes on brainstormblog.net are still in progress. I'm slightly less behind than I was before.
Good job.
Thanks to Dave for our intro music. Thanks to Alex Kepper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for the intro and some of our ads. And thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff over at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. Thanks for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interactions with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.
Give her the good story.
It's not good. It's just fucking long.
Okay.